An ongoing, terrible war between humankind and demonkind endures for centuries. The balance of power between the two sides had remained equal for quite a while, but during recent years, the demonkind have learned the ability to control monsters, which tipped the scale in their favor. Because of this, humanity is on the brink of utter annihilation. Seeing the plight of humankind, the god of creation worshipped by the people of Tortoise, Ahit summoned heroes with incredible power to fight for the kingdom and save humanity. Our story follows the wild and chaotic journey of Hajime Nagumo, the generic nerd-turned-badass transformation character. Our hero/loser, Hajime Nagumo, is a typical high schooler with no real defining traits, dreams, or muscles, until he and some of his classmates are teleported to a fantasy world because, why not? It's an opportunity for every single one of his classmates to live their best RPG dreams. Swords, magic, the works. Everyone is given cool abilities except Hajime, of course. Our boy here is stuck with the Synergist class, which basically makes him the magical handyman. While his classmates are flexing their muscles and launching fireballs, Hajime only knows how to transmute dirt into slightly better dirt.
This is a story where our once forgettable MC goes from being the most useless character on the battlefield to a force of nature with a massive chip on his shoulder.
After he and his entire class are summoned to another world, Hajime Nagumo finds himself extremely underpowered and at the mercy of the labyrinth. The episode begins with Hajime Nagumo being thrown into the abyss of the Great Orcus Labyrinth. At the bottom, he quickly finds a bunny innocently at a distance. He wonders what a bunny would be doing at the bottom of a dangerous place, until a monster stronger than he's ever seen comes towards the bunny. The bunny showcases shocking skill and takes down all the predators. Another monster, a bear-like monstrosity, comes in to kill and eat the bunny. He runs away like the sad and weakly coward he is, but the bear attacks him and tears off his left arm before eating it right in front of him. Hajime escapes by transmuting his way deep into the ground as the bear continues to chase him. He uses his skill to keep going deeper until the bear can no longer follow. He gets weaker until he eventually passes out. By a stroke of luck, he finds a divinity stone that creates a constant, near-unlimited pool of holy water, allowing him to staunch the bleeding of his now missing arm. The holy water allows him to be sustained even after losing a lot of blood. In a few flashbacks, it is revealed that Hajime had ventured into the labyrinth with his party, and they had been attacked by a high-level monster. Hajime, trying to be the hero of ages, decides to hold the monster with his weak magic so that everyone, including his crush Kaori, can escape. The leader thanks him for his bravery and promises to come back for him. Once everyone is able to leave and run to safety, the leader asks him to get out of there while the other party members launch a barrage of spells at the monster. As Hajime is running to meet them, one of the spells diverts and hits our poor weakling protagonist square in the face, sending him flying down into the abyss. His crush, Kaori, screams in despair as she is dragged away by the other party members, so she won't fall too. Hajime is stuck in the abyss and starts to break due to intense hunger. He eventually loses reason and begins to hunt the extremely strong wolves by using traps. He goes out of the small enclosure he hid in and attracts the attention of some wolves. They follow him and are caught in his trap. He proceeds to off them inside the pit using his transmutation skill and then gobbles up the flesh like it's the finest meal from a 5-star restaurant. The cells of the monster change his DNA, and only the constant healing from the holy water saves him. His body transforms, becoming much stronger due to the constant healing of his muscles that keep getting torn apart from the symbiosis of his DNA and the monsters. His hair even turns white, and as he checks his stats, he discovers that there have been some upgrades and that he even picked up some of the abilities of the wolves he ate. After his transformation, he makes up his mind not to die and to rather seek revenge against the classmate that used a spell to try and unalive him. He uses his transmutation skill to create powerful weapons through trial and error, eventually creating his first pistol, which he names Donner, and supplies it without bullets made from the resources inside the labyrinth. He uses it to hunt the rabbit and bear monsters in the labyrinth, piling up his abilities as he eats more and more of their flesh before looking for a way further into the abyss so he can escape. Not knowing that he is on the first floor of the bottom of the abyss, Hajime contemplates that since he can't find the way up, he has to continue going down the labyrinth and wonders on which floor he is currently at. He had already accumulated all the necessary resources for the upcoming journey, thanks to his increased stats and skills by consuming the highly nutritious and delicious monster meat. On the second floor, in the darkness, Hajime comes across a lizard-like monster with petrification eyes like our darling MILF Medusa, and it manages to petrify Hajime's left stump a bit, but thanks to his stock of holy water, he was able to counter it, and then using a flashbang to blind the monster, Hajime unalives the monster. Continuing on, Hajime is faced with a variety of monsters on various floors of the bottom of the abyss, until he reaches the 50th floor. He still wonders how long the labyrinth is and considers that the doors in front of him on the 50th floor might give him some answers. Though seeing the doors, Hajime makes its comparison to Pandora's box and wonders what hope lies beyond the doors. He then recalls his vow of returning home alive in any possible way, and if anything gets in his way as an enemy, he would brutally unalive them for their treachery against him. When Hajime reaches the doors, he finds odd inscriptions on the door, which he hasn't read or seen before from all his study in the kingdom's library. He considers that it might be something a lot older and decides to transmute the door to open his path, but when he tries to do so, the door counter-reacts, which forces Hajime to jump back. Suddenly, the two giant statues beside the door come alive to reveal Cyclops-like monsters, who immediately start attacking. Hajime isn't surprised by the cliché events that transpired, and immediately guns down the first Cyclops down by ironically shooting at its eye in order to avoid a 2 versus 1 situation. Hajime attacks the second Cyclops, but it uses defensive magic to block the incoming attacks. Hajime is a bit irritated about the defensive magic, but continues his focus attacks on the Cyclops' eye, which the monster keeps blocking using its arms and magic, and tries to counter back, but its arm gets injured in the process. Hajime tries to taunt the Cyclops to attack him, but the monster doesn't move away from the door, as if guarding something important. Hajime continues his assault on the Cyclops, which forces it to go in defense. Hajime finally manages to break through the defensive magic, which makes the Cyclops counter in as a last-ditch effort, but he has already moved away from the location and then offs the Cyclops by shooting its eye. While going through the corpse of the Cyclopus, Hajime finds mana stones inside each of their bodies and guesses that the monsters themselves were probably the key to the door. He uses the mana stones on the door, which unlocks it. Inside, Hajime finds a strange spinning golden cube floating in the air. When he enters, the whole place starts brightening up as if unlocking more of itself, which surprises Hajime. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him, asking who is there. Hajime looks to find that the golden cube has stopped spinning and sees a stark, naked girl stuck in it. Hajime is surprised to find someone in a place like this. After considering a bit, Hajime decides to leave the place and bids farewell to the girl for bothering her. The girl is surprised by the reaction but asks him to wait and help her. Hajime rejects the notion, even when the girl tells her she would do anything. Hajime answers back that in a hellish place like that labyrinth, a person wouldn't be sealed inside without a proper reason and was done so purposely. The girl says that she wasn't at fault and that she was betrayed. Hearing this, Hajime stops while remembering the events on the bridge. Not liking that fact, Hajime decides to ask as to why she was betrayed and sealed down. The girl is confused a bit initially, but then goes on to answer that she belongs to the vampire race and is extremely powerful. She used to use her power to protect the people of her nation, but one day, the ministers of her nation said that they didn't need her anymore, and her uncle informed her that he would instead rule their nation. While she was fine with the decision, the others in her nation considered her as dangerous, and since they couldn't kill her, they decided to seal her instead. Hajime was surprised by the couldn't be unalived part, and asks about it, to which she informs that she can heal from any type of injury or damage. Also, she can directly manipulate mana and could even use spells without a magic circle. This surprised Hajime, as her powers were rule-breaking that made her practically immortal. The girl again asks Hajime to help her. He contemplates a bit, but decides to free her. He tries to transmute the cube the girl was stuck in, but the thing is really hard to manipulate. Hajime goes full power to transmute the block, shouting like a super saiyan, and finally manages to free the girl. The girl, finally free from her shackles, asks Hajime's name, to which he responds and informs her. Hajime in return asks for the girl's name, but the girl asks him to name her. Hajime wondered if she lost her memories, but she tells him that she doesn't need anything from her past life now, and wants a new name. Hajime decides on the name Yue, as when he entered the room, the girl's golden hair and red eyes reminded him of the moon in the night sky, hence the name. The girl accepts the name and thanks Hajime while hugging him. Suddenly, Hajime senses spikes coming his and protects Yue using his own body as cover while moving away, but ends up getting stabbed by them, which distraught Yue. Meanwhile, in Highlight Kingdom, Meld Loggins, along with Shizuku, Kuki, and Ryutaru, come to the audience of the king, Elihide Heilig, and the Pope, Ishtar Langbard, and inform them about the unknown trap found on the 20th floor of the Great Orcus Labyrinth, which connected to the 65th floor of the labyrinth, and the fact that the confrontation against the Behemoth and the Traumsoliders was regretfully vain, and that it ended up costing them the life of a god's chosen hero, which is the pathetic Hajime. The Pope and the king are worried that word regarding the death of a chosen hero is spreading around the kingdom, so they order not to speak about it more than needed, maintain silence, and ask the other chosen heroes to agree with it. Shizuku While being worried about her friend Kaori, who hasn't woken up since Hajime fell from the bridge, recounts the event of how Meld had to knock Kaori unconscious in order to stop her from doing something drastic after Hajime's fall. She then goes out of Kaori's room to the castle courtyard in order to clear her mind while practicing her sword form. During this time, she recalls about the day when they got summoned to Tortoise and met Ishtar, who informed them about how there has been an ongoing bloody war between humankind and demonkind for centuries, while the power scale between the two sides had remained on par for quite a while. During recent years, the demonkind have learned the ability to control monsters, which tipped the scale in their favor. Because of this, humanity is on the brink of destruction. Seeing the plight of humankind, the god of creation worshipped by the people of Tortoise, Ehit summoned heroes with incredible power to fight for the kingdom and save humanity. Hearing this, Kuki jumped in and decided to fight for the sake of the humans of Tortoise, and asked everyone to help him. But hearing that, the teacher of the students, Aiko Hatayama, who also got summoned along with the others, starts to object to Kuki's decision because she doesn't want her students to do dangerous work, and it's her duty as the only adult present to protect the students. She runs around like a headless chicken demanding to be listened to. While Kuki is initially flustered because of Aiko's objection, Ryutaru confirms his support for Kuki's decision, which also prompts Shizuku and Kaori to agree with it. This doesn't make Aiko happy, and she starts throwing a tantrum in order to stop her students. After recollecting the events of the past, Shizuku finishes her sword training and feels that something is wrong, and things aren't really that easy. Suddenly, she hears mumbling from nearby, and turns around to find Daisuke walking away. She ends up calling him, wondering what he was doing, which surprised Daisuke a lot, and he becomes more flustered, obviously acting like a discovered criminal. He replies to Shizuku that he wasn't doing anything, and asks her in return as to what she was doing. Shizuku says that she was practicing in order to not get rusty and advises Daisuke to do the same, to which he vaguely replies that he doesn't need it and goes away. After he goes away, Shizuku wonders why he was acting weirdly. She then recalls that Daisuke always used to pick a fight with Hajime back in Japan, and even did the same things after being summoned to Tortoise. And it was always Kaori who tried to stop him from picking on Hajime. Shizuku wondered whether Daisuke had feelings for Kaori, and wondered more about the incident in the labyrinth, but then gave up on that thought, considering it as not possible. Back in Kaori's room, Shizuku looks at her friend, who is sleeping in bed worriedly. At that moment, Kaori slowly regains her consciousness, sitting up in bed and giving a proper view of her well-built lemons. This finally relieves her of worry and asks Kaori if she and her body is okay or not. Kaori informs that she feels okay but a bit tired. Shizuku informs her that she has been sleeping for 5 days now, so it's obvious she is tired. Kaori is surprised to hear she was asleep for that long and wonders why it happened. She starts to recall that she was in the labyrinth, but Shizuku cuts her thoughts and asks if she needs water in order to divert her. Kaori says she can't clearly remember things, but then asks about Hajime's whereabouts. Kaori asks if he is safe and whether the others were able to save him or not. Shizuku couldn't reply to her, which made her understand the situation, but she didn't want to believe it, and she tried to leave her room in order to look for Hajime, but couldn't because of her weakness. While Shizuku tries to comfort Kaori, she informs Shizuku that she wants to believe that Hajime is still alive, even though the chance is low, but she wants to confirm with her own eyes. So, she decides to get stronger in order to be able to achieve her goal, and asks Shizuku to lend her strength to her. Shizuku agrees, to which Kaori is grateful, but Shizuku tells her that there is no need to be grateful as they are friends. During his conversation with Yue, they are suddenly attacked by a giant scorpion monster that appears on the ceiling above them. Hajime is impaled by poisoned spikes, launched by the scorpion because he jumps in to save Yue from harm. However, he is able to neutralize the toxin utilizing his stored holy water before it takes effect. He gets up and prepares for a showdown with the monster, taking out Donner and spraying some bullets. Unfortunately, the bullets have little effect on the monster. Hajime gives his cloak to Yue for her to cover her body while she gets on his back. As they face off against the monster, she starts sucking on his blood greedily. Hajime finds it difficult to face off against the monster, and it looms over them until Yue gets down and launches a fake spirit bomb on the monster. It does significant damage, but the monster is still able to get up. Hajime holds her and asks if she can do another similar attack. She says she can, but that it won't be as strong as the previous one. He tells her to aim for where the bullet hits, and with his strategy they are able to take down the monster. Inside an enclosure made by Hajime, he prepares the meat of the monster and offers some of it to Yue, who rejects it, saying that she doesn't need food to survive. Hajime realizes that she's been alone and sealed for 300 years, so she doesn't need it as sustenance. Yue gets close to him and begins a thorough investigation about why he is in his current position. She barrages him with questions, and Hajime tells her to calm down and he'll answer all her questions. As they continue their journey through the abyss, he tells her of how he was betrayed and that he was on a journey of revenge. Yue starts to cry, saying that his story is heartbreaking. Up on the surface, the remaining heroes are ordered to train vigorously. They are attacked by some T-Rex-looking creatures with small flowers on their heads. As the monsters chase them, Yue is calm, much to Hajime's surprise. He then wonders about the flowers on their heads and realizes it must be a parasitic plan, which also meant something else was controlling the monsters. They rush to a small opening in a wall and enter, leaving the monsters behind. As they walk in, some green spores surround the entire place, and Hajime quickly creates a stone barrier to block it out. Unfortunately, it's too late because Yue falls under the control and a small flower grows on her head. That is a green ivy wannabe with a 10/10ths body and 2/10ths face. She orders Yue to attack Hajime, and she is helpless to resist. Hajime stands still and receives several blasts head-on from Yue. The monster even tries to get him under her control too. The controlling flowers start to grow on his head but quickly wither away like it was touched by the hand of a death god. This causes Hajime to laugh hysterically. The fight goes on, but Hajime is unable to attack the monster directly because it is using Yue as a shield. Yue urges him to shoot, and he does. They end up unalive the monster successfully. They discuss in another stone enclosure made by Hajime, and they talk about random things. Yue then stands up and removes her coat, leaving her completely unclothed. Hajime, being the newbie virgin that he is, starts to blush, but Yue tells him there's no escape as she sucks on his delicious blood. The pair later continue their sad little pilgrimage, and a downward staircase is revealed, which leads them to the entrance of an intricate purple door. Hajime and Yue proceed beyond the large door to find a giant hydra. Each head of the hydra seems specialized in a different manner. Some attack, and some defend, and amongst all of them is one white head that can heal any damage the other heads take. They start the fight against it, and are immediately on the defensive as the Hydra works well to fend off attacks. It launches attacks of its own with fire, ice, and wind attacks. Yue and Hajime fight well together, but they quickly find that this fight won't be easy. One of the heads of the Hydra gets close to Yue and puts her in a hypnosis state where she remembers her time being sealed. The memory distracts her, and the Hydra head is about to strike when Hajime jumps in and saves her. He comforts her and Planet, a standard McKiss on her, before telling her that they would be okay and defeat the Hydra. He launches away and begins to shoot at the heads. The Hydra tries the hypnosis trick on him too, showing him his struggles in the labyrinth, but it doesn't work on him. Instead, he blasts it away. He plans with Yue and tells her to release an attack on his signal. He runs up to the walls and plants grenades all over the ceiling before using his long pistol to fire a beam of energy at the Hydra. Together, they are able to crush the Hydra under tons of rubble. However, the white Hydra head is able to stay alive and then launch a massive attack at Yue. Hajime runs towards her and protects her from the blast, causing him to sustain serious damage and pass out. Yue kisses him and continues the fight on her own. Later, Hajime comes back and lets her climb his back. She bites him on his neck, causing him to unleash a powerful attack that ends the Hydra once and for all. Exhausted, injured, and missing an eye, Hajime lies on the floor as Yue rests on him. On the surface, we see the teacher for the Isekai class negotiating with the king to allow the heroes to take a break if they want to. We find out her class is the farmer. The episode ends with a scene of the Isekai class having made it to the 60th floor of the abyss. There, Kuki tells Kaori that they can't let the death of their classmates slow them down from saving the people of the kingdom. He is interrupted by two smaller individuals who offer support and aid to Kaori before they are all called and told that they needed to get going. Thanks for joining us on another adventure, my fellow weebs. If you enjoyed this episode of Weeb Tunes, make sure to smash that like button and leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel.